Hello, everyone. Would you care to introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, I'm Harry. I'm one of the young producers here.
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
I'm Georgia, another one of the young producers.
And what is it we're doing here?
I believe you're interviewing us, Jeff.
And what am I interviewing you about?
Your interview is about the Chester Festival of Hope, which is happening very soon, the 29th of August and the 31st of August, which will be online and will be has a range of programs showing what people have been getting up to during lockdown.
My understanding is that it's very much driven by young people, including yourselves. I'm very interested, first of all, in your motivation. What made you want to do this?
All three of us are part of the Grove Museum Youth Panel, and we were presented with sort of the idea of the Festival of Hope, and I think all of us kind of saw it as a great opportunity to kind of give our voice from a museum perspective, kind of get young people sort of more enthusiastic about museums.
Georgia, what was your motivation?
I liked the idea of creating a space. When we first did the loads of brainstorming sessions, there were lots and lots of different ideas, but a common theme was creating a space for people to discover and learn new things. So that's where the tagline came from: a young curious mind who's willing to welcome and explore other curious minds. That's where the tag came from, because we all wanted very similar things to kind of give a space over to other people so they could engage with it and learn new things and see how it works.
And what about you, Harry?
For me, I think it was good to do something completely different to what we usually do with the museum group. And yeah, like George said, bringing people together and doing something on a bigger scale, which, we could present to more people and, get people talking and interacting in different ways.
And what is it actually involved on a practical basis? Obviously, particularly when we were in hard lockdown, and you were all working on this at the time, what were you actually doing? What was the day-to-day running like?
We all became very good at Zoom very quickly. That was the main thing. But so we did lots of things via shared, like Google Drive and stuff. So creating timelines and then reaching out to people and see whether they're interested. And then we've commissioned 2 artists to work alongside of us. So producing the brief to give to them, and then corresponding with them and seeing what our thoughts and kind of ranking and deciding which artist to use, and then collaborating with them in the best way possible. So it's been a really big range of different activities we've done and different things we've learned and different skills as well.
And what is it that you've asked the artists to do?
We came up with 2 main things that we've commissioned. We commissioned a lady called Cremina to do a cartoon strip based on interviews conducted by myself and Georgia about people from our local areas' experiences in lockdown. And our second commission is Neil Keating. I'll hand over to Georgia to explain that one, because I really don't understand it.
This idea came from the depths of my brain. Basically, Neil has created a map which people can submit their strangest lockdown purchase, or just anything interesting they've bought during lockdown, not even strangest, just what they've bought. And then he will go away and draw these items, and chickens is a common theme. We've had like a little trial period, and there's 3 different sets of chickens people have bought. So there's lots of chickens on the map, and there'll be different things people can add during the weekend, and then come back at a later date once Neil's had the time to go and draw them, and then we'll be able to find it corresponding to location to see if there's any like common themes of whether certain areas have bought more chickens than other areas, or whatever, however it works. So
it sounds like you've been incredibly busy with the interviews and the various kind of administrative side as well, tasks as well. I'm wondering, how have you managed to do all this alongside your schoolwork? You've all been very involved in A-levels. I know, Harry, you're not in the year that actually took the A-levels this year. You're in the first year of A-levels. But how have you managed to run all this alongside your education?
Well, Caitlin
For,
and I were quite
for
lucky, so they kind of just stopped. Ours just basically stopped from March, April, March, and even then it wasn't that much when we did have it. So we try to do as many activities over Zoom. So we do a 2-hour Zoom once a week, and we try to get as much done in that, so we don't really have to do too much outside of our outside of that time. So we get as much done in that, and then Catherine kind of takes the ball rolling from there and does the slightly more mundane jobs, which we don't need to do. So,
It's always good to have somebody to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you, Harry, you, as I say, you're in the first year of A level, so you have been working.
Yeah.
How much of a challenge has that been for you?
I think it has been difficult because I think sometimes calls come at the end of the day, and if you had a lot of work on and stuff, it's quite hard to, you don't want to be staring at a computer all day. So you want to be moving about, and I took a couple of weeks off at some point, but it's good to be back, and it's good. You get into a routine eventually, and it's good, and it actually teaches you skills about adapting and managing your time and doing things more effectively rather than just using your day slowly and stuff. You get stuff more done, which is good.
And that was my next question, actually. What apart from the information about chickens, what have you learned from this whole experience? What are some of the things that you've perhaps been surprised by, or as I say, that you've simply never done before and had a chance to experience?
I think the main one for me was the interviewing for two reasons really. It was an interesting skill to learn. It kind of makes this less daunting, knowing you've been in the other position. But also just sort of, even though it was slightly more formal, just sitting down with people who but you might not necessarily have spoken to kind of about it before, and kind of realizing that there's a lot of people out there who are or who have been in the same position as you. And it kind of helps to understand that the message that we're putting across is going to be received, because the message that we're putting out of how people are feeling, what people have been doing, in a creative form, it'll definitely be received well, I think.
Georgia?
I think the biggest thing is probably how willing people are to get a skill. Well, skills wise, I've learned like the planning side of big events, because it's one of those weird things that you turn up to a big event and suddenly everything works like clockwork, and you kind of forget about the fact that everything has to go on behind the scenes. So that's been really interesting. But in terms of a learning a different sense, it's kind of how willing people are to get involved and want to help out. Because I mean, other than the three of us in the museum, we're quite a small team compared to some of the other groups around the country. So it's been interesting, like all our contacts have got involved in the interviews, and then when we sent the survey out, we had over 40 responses for the original survey just to backlog the map. So just how willing people are to get involved with stuff, it's been really interesting, because I thought, especially young people, not really going to want to do anything, see the message and us bombarding them going, can you do this please, can you fill in this survey? They're just going to be like, oh, why would I do that? But people have actually been really receptive to it, which has been nice. So
What about you, Harry?
I think I've learned about interacting with other people, like in a professional. I'm not saying that being rude and stuff, but it's like someone you hire someone, and they bring you work, and then they expect you to make kind of a decision on it, and then the way you interact with them, and it's just like how they give feedback, and then how you kind of communicate what you want, and then versus kind of what they bring to the table. So that's been quite good and quite interesting, actually working in more of a professional environment.
And interviewing people about their experiences over lockdown, it puts you in a very privileged position, asking people to share their innermost feelings and thoughts about this very strange time that we've all been through together. How has that felt to talk to people about sides of their lives and experiences that you wouldn't normally necessarily be privy to rather?
I think it was quite interesting, because you may have spoken to them during lockdown, like especially so mine and Caitlin friends, we do a quiz every week and we've seen everyone and spoken to everyone, but everyone's been like, yeah, I'm fine, just bored really, and everyone just kind of shared how much Netflix they've been watching. But it was quite interesting to dive behind, other than just the Netflix watching and whatever else they've been doing, and see how like why that they've been doing that. Is it as a distraction? Is it because they're literally just have nothing else to do? And how people have been coping and what's changed in their lifestyle. So I know for quite a few people, one of my friends was doing ballet classes and does a lot of ballet, and how that had changed during lockdown. I didn't even think of stuff like that because all my sport was cancelled, but obviously ballet couldn't be done from home, and how that was being adapted. It's quite interesting to have those kind of conversations.
Caitlin?
I kind of agree with that, yeah. And in terms of the sort of doing ballet from home, I did taekwondo sort of from home, and it was one of the weirdest experiences ever. But yeah, I think one of the main things was, I don't know, it kind of worked two ways. I think it was probably nice for them to have somebody to sort of talk to, but at the same time, because, you know, we weren't just asking them questions like one after the other. You know, it was a conversation between two people, and kind of, I don't know, being able to get things off your chest that you've sort of had in your mind for about 4 months, even if it's just to that one person. You know, it felt, I don't know, I felt like it was quite relaxing in a way. And we've just spoken to Carmina about an hour ago, and just to see what sort of she's turned it into as well, it was really, really interesting to see.
What's that? Sorry, the Carmina,
The cartoon artist.
the cartoon
sorry.
artist, yeah. And what will people see when they see the cartoon artist then? The work?
Well, so far we've only seen the sketches, but there's going to be a very heavy emphasis on the separation between England and Wales, which is one of the things that kind of came up in a lot of the interviews. There's going to be some comedy in it. I think that there's things that came up which kind of make you laugh a little bit and
Give us an
think,
example.
oh wow. One of mine and George's friends, she had watched a YouTube video about Jamie Oliver and how he'd bought a chicken and completely dissected it. So she made her mum buy her a chicken, and she dissected the entire thing. So yeah, there's humorous elements like that in it, but
Well, it's not very humorous for the chicken, I would say.
probably not, no. But there's also quite not hard-hitting things, but kind of alongside that, there's the realities of the way that people were feeling, and things that hopefully people can identify with.
Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, it sounds like it's been quite, in some ways, quite a profound experience for you. And I'm just wondering whether it's also been enjoyable. How enjoyable has it been, Harry?
It has been enjoyable. I think that mainly comes down to the people you work with, you know, because I think, you like, everyone who's been involved has been really, really nice and really, really lovely throughout the whole thing. And it actually just makes making decisions and talking through things a lot easier, because you just feel like just having a conversation with friends, and it's just relaxed, and that you can speak freely and you don't feel like you're being judged. And it's a really good environment to work in. So yeah, it's been good.
And what surprises have you experienced, whether in terms of the content of what people have told you, or in terms of your own kind of reactions, or what you've learned, perhaps?
My surprise is always going to be the chickens.
Yeah.
I did not expect chickens to come up that much, but I think it's quite surprised at how easy things can be done from a remote location, and how we all managed. We haven't really had many hiccups, minus the technical hiccups. We haven't really had too many, and how we've actually managed to produce this thing. But we haven't seen each other we haven't been in the same room as each other in 5 months, but we've produced this from our rooms or our houses, and it's just that surprised how well you can work remotely.
Caitlin, what surprises apart from the chickens?
I think for me, I'm not very clued up in the artist world, and when we sent out the commissions, I didn't really know what to expect. And then when we were shortlisting them, and I saw how many responses we got for all the different commissions that had been sent out. It was really interesting to see, and it was also nice to, even though obviously we only picked one of them, looking through everybody's work and stuff. I really enjoyed that, which surprised me because I'm not very arty at all. So yeah, that was a good experience for me.
What's it like when you see these experiences that you've been gathering kind of metamorphose into, is that even the right word? Change into a piece of art, and it's seen through the eyes of an artist. How inspiring has that been?
I think the big one for me was that the map came from this very odd place in my brain where I'd seen something about surfing spots on a map, and that was how it came. But to see the way Neil had produced it and that he actually understood the idea, because I don't think I was very elaborate in explaining it. And it was exactly, I mean, it wasn't exact, obviously it's not, it was 10 times better than what we imagined. Like, I didn't know what to expect, and that was really interesting to see how Neil had interpreted it, and it was much more interactive and clearer and more interesting than what we could have ever thought of.
And what do you think people are going to get from what you've done? Why should people take a look? What's available to them?
I think there's something for everybody. I think that's something that we've really tried to sort of do. We've got sort of things to, I think we've got something to do with making time capsules online, and which will sort of feed the historical people among us. I think that there's things to do with writing workshops. There's sort of a craft afternoon type thing. So I think even if you don't necessarily think at the start that's for me, I think taking a look on the website, or just taking a look at maybe the social media when everything's up on there, I'm pretty sure there will be something for everybody, definitely.
And is there anything you would have done differently now at this stage towards the end? I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty happy with the way it's come out.
Yeah, I think it considering the whole sort of everything being online thing, I think we've done a really good job.
My one thing would be, if it wasn't for COVID, it would be nice to have the conversations in person and be able to decide stuff. Like, we were known for our snacks, and to be able to have those.
Yes.
Catherine and Virginia are like the best snack givers. So having the range of snacks and sitting around a meeting, that'd be the one thing I'd change. But that's obviously impossible because of COVID. But that'd be the nice thing, is the meetings in person and the snacks and the grapes, which used to go down well.
Which kind of brings me to my final question. You've done so much incredible stuff, and you've found out so much and turned it into this fabulous festival. But I'm wondering, as you say, things have been impossible because of COVID now. But in the future, would you like to build on what you've achieved here and do something similar in the future? And if so, what might it be? Where might this take you individually?
I like to see like a festival folk kind of every year, but kind of like just different groups of young people leading and producing a festival each year, so they can have their own little festivals, and then we can come help and offer our suggestions and our experiences for what we've done. Personally, I don't know, this gives you great organisational skills, I think, and being able to interact with professionals and other people, it's good to take away.
Yeah, I agree with Harry. It'd be quite interesting if we could act as kind of mentors for the next group, and then kind of and see how that works. But also, it's a 5-year project, so we've just kind of started it, and see what it goes into then. But I think more in a bigger, wide scale outside the Festival of Hope, I think it's set quite not an expectation maybe of young leadership and how to go about young leadership, and hopefully we can all be involved in other projects as we go off to university or school or whatever it's going to be, and see and how to get young people involved, and as we go into adults and kind of understanding the value of a young person's voice and adding the value and making them feel heard. I'm hoping that's personally that will what we will take away and use in our lives later on, but also like in a more of a local national scale is see people to use it as an example for youth leadership and the power of young people's voices.
Brilliant. And Caitlin?
I kind of agree with all of that. I think for me, it's sort of two-sided, really. I think the project as a whole, I hope that it continues, and I hope that sort of once we've sort of finished in a way, I hope that the idea that young people can achieve something really, really great will sort of show other generations possibly what we're capable of doing. From a personal point of view, I start a history degree in about 3 weeks, and I just think it's given me, I don't know, it's made me even more excited sort of to see what I can do with that in the future, and kind of the impact that I can possibly have on younger people in sort of, I don't know, possibly finding a passion for history, but also just making sure that they know that they can sort of put their voice out there for whatever change they want to happen.
Well, that's fantastic. You say that young people in the abstract have done this brilliant thing, but it's not in the abstract. It's individuals like yourselves who've actually done it. So that's amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah.